throws for the end zone. Touchdown, Parker. Pick off by Xavien Howard. Tagovailoa trying to pick up one. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! That hard work.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here with another one, and I'm joined by the homie Matt Valdovinos. Guys, you can follow Matt on Twitter at MV Scouting. He's actually one of my favorite. I was just telling him he's one of my favorite draft follows on Twitter, and he does great work over on PFN. You can find his stuff on Pro Football Network. Matt, thanks for joining. How you doing tonight, brother?
I'm always doing good, man. It's been a wonderful day. Had the day off. Hit the gym today. Did some laundry. It's been a productive and solid day watching tape.
Attaboy.
Good day.
Who you been watching today?
Today I finished up Sam Cosmi, the Texas offensive tackle.
Okay.
Finished him up. You know what? Honestly, might drop a spicy take here about him on the a little bit later on the show. We'll see.
Oh, let's see it, man. All right, let's hop right into it. I want to start off a little bit with free agency.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 26 million now. We can restructure Van Noy. Hopefully they restructure Eric Flowers, because good God, that guy's a mess. I knew we overpaid him. And you're a Washington fan, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that 10 mil was.
Oh my God, I'm ready to Bud Dwyer myself. We can cut Jakeem Grant, a couple other guys. We can create about another $40 to $62 million in cap space if we want. Now, Xavien Howard, obviously, the season he had. And the legal issue. I'm sure you've heard about the legal issues that have popped up recently. With him wanting more money, how would you handle the Xavien Howard situation coming off a 10-pick season? Statistically, a better year than what Gilmore had when he won Defensive Player of the Year. What are your thoughts on the whole Xavien Howard situation and wanting more money?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that you should always retain your homegrown players, and they deserve to be paid as such. Dictated by what their play is, and Xavien was awesome. One of the top cornerbacks in all of football this year, had a phenomenal season, definitely a DPOY candidate, right? I do think Miami's in a super weird spot with it because you've already invested so much into Byron Jones, right? You've already given him a big contract. You already gave Xavien a big contract, but that was supposed to go through 2025 or something crazy.
Yeah.
And then you just drafted Noah Igbenogany in the first, right? So you have a lot of capital just in general that you've invested into this position. Now, I do think that Xavien Howard deserves to be paid like one of the top cornerbacks, because I think he is one of the top cornerbacks.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, really difficult to invest what would now be 30 plus million. You're already at right around 30. So I could understand if Miami wanted to restructure and offered him $2 more million, right? I think he makes 15.05 per year. I think he would go up to right around 17. I'd be comfortable with that number. Once we start getting over 17, though, I think that's probably when, okay, yeah, we're not going to do anything more than this. You can take this, or we'll see what happens. If he sits out, probably just explore a trade. I wouldn't hate it, because I do think Byron Jones is so phenomenal. If you can get a lot, capital for him, I think it makes sense. But because you've already given Byron Jones that contract, it's really, really difficult to say, okay, Xavien, let's give you this much more money.
Yeah. And last year, you probably heard it. The rumors were swirling that Belichick was trying to move Gilmore at the beginning of the season. If Xavien wants a little bit more and it's not working out, what do you think we could get a Jalen Ramsey type of return for him? Or do you think because he's 27, even though the case got closed, another legal issue popped up when 2 years ago, he had the domestic case over the purse with his girlfriend, right? And he's got the injury, he's got the knee issue that he's always been dealing with since Baylor. Do you think he could deem a good return in a trade, or do you think it might not be what Dolphin fans think?
Yeah, I definitely think you can get something for him. They should not be expecting Jalen Ramsey, right? I'm still of the belief that Jalen Ramsey is the best cornerback in the NFL. Might be a bit of a hot take on a Dolphins show, but I think what Ramsey has done year in and year out, and I think he was right there with Xavien in terms of just how dominant he was. For Ramsey, he's never going to have 10 interceptions in a season. And we kind of saw it with Richard Sherman too. After he had that 8 interception season, people just don't target these guys, right? These are strap up, the guy you're thinking about throwing to is not open. Don't throw it over here. I think Xavien gets a lot of leeway because Byron Jones is so phenomenal on the other side. I mean, there's not a better cornerback duo in football. So you get a lot of leeway when Byron Jones is doing his thing, that Xavien Howard's getting a lot more targets than most top cornerbacks would. I imagine. I don't have that number. Honestly, I don't have that number right off the top of my head. But I would imagine Xavien Howard is seeing a higher target share than someone like Jalen Ramsey is. Now, obviously, he made the most of it, right? And I'm not going to fault him for being targeted more and then having 10 interceptions. But I do think that with Jalen Ramsey, we were talking about like you're getting that guy and you're guaranteed to have the best one of the best top 2 or 3 cornerbacks in football for the next 5 years or however long he's on your team until he's in his early 30s. With Xavien Howard, I don't think you're getting that same kind of value. Could I see a team give him a first? Yeah, honestly, if Washington was like, all right, here's 19 for Xavien Howard, I would take that, right? I would think that's a win-win for both sides if Xavien Howard is adamant on getting a big return. But at the end of the day, I don't think Jalen Ramsey's in the cards, but I could definitely see them get a top more than a first-round pick.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's sticking with free agency a little bit here before we get into the draft. Just 2 more things. There's a lot of chatter. I'm sure you saw it about Aaron Jones to Miami right now. His rumored tag is between 12 to 14 million per year. First of all, do you think that's a little bit high for Aaron Jones? And do you think Miami would be, because you know how bad our rushing attack was last year when Myles Gaskin did a great job for what he is and what he was asked to do, but not an alpha number 1. In terms of the tag and the fit, do you think Aaron Jones makes sense on that money, or would you be looking to target a guy like Najee or Javonte Williams in this draft instead?
So it's hard. I'm going to look up Joe Mixon's contract real quick, because that's kind of like the max I'm at for running backs, like Christian McCaffrey at like 16 or whatever, Saquon, whatever he's going to get, Derrick Henry for whatever he's going to get. Like, I'm just not on board in terms of, I don't think running backs, the position, are valuable enough to do that. Joe Mixon got 4 for 48, right? So about 12 per year. That's something that, like, if you can get Aaron Jones for 12 or 13, I'm definitely on board, because I love Aaron Jones as a player. I think he's a top 3 running back in football. I think he's 3. When Saquon's healthy, he'll probably be 4 or 5, obviously, but he's been so good the past 2 years. I also love Aaron Jones as a person, from El Paso. Shout out the 915. I also hail from El Paso. He follows me on Twitter too. That's cool.
Nice.
But yeah, I just love Aaron, the person, player, and I think it's immensely important for Miami to get a competent rusher, someone who for 16 games you can be like, all right, this dude could go for 100 if he wanted to, because that's going to help Tua, right? That's first and foremost, is you're getting some of that weight off of his back. It's hard for him to create an offense by himself, especially when right now they still need weapons on the outside too. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I think if you have the room, you do, but it does not make sense. It doesn't seem feasible to me, a scenario where Miami gets both more money to Xavien, bring in Aaron Jones, and then are also doing some progressive moves to move forward, right? So I'm kind of torn, but I do think they need to get a really good runner. If it was me, I would personally probably just go after Najee at 18 or Etienne or Javonte at 36. I think any of those picks are fine value. Taking a running back in the first is kind of like giving one a big contract, but I think Najee Harris is different. Love Najee. That's my RB1. I think the experience with Tua, I think what he would do for Miami, and I think he's a good fit with Gaskin. Is Najee is the top guy and Gaskin is that change of pace guy. I think it would work out really, really well, but that's if they want to take him at 18. I can understand wanting to take a more valuable position there. Either way, as long as they get a quality running back, someone who can be your workhorse, your alpha dog, it's good, right? I'm comfortable with the move. It's just whatever decision they decide to make.
I wanted to ask you, do you think Javonte, I'm at the firm belief, I don't think Javonte makes it, well, I don't think Najee or Javonte make it past Pittsburgh and Buffalo, because I've been hearing Buffalo wants another running back because they don't believe Singletary or Moss is the guy. And I'm really struggling. Like, I would put 1A, 1B with those guys. I don't think there's that much of a gap between them. Do you think Javonte even sees the second round?
Yeah, I definitely do. I'm not sure that Javonte is going to get taken before Travis Etienne. But I would probably expect Etienne to be. I'm still not 100% sure that Najee is going to be the first running back taken either, because I can definitely see an NFL team being like, all right, Travis Etienne's like this insanely productive college player with elite traits, right? So we're just going to take him here despite some of the deficiencies. But overall, I don't think it's so like we didn't see any running backs. I liked last year's running back class more. And
Agreed.
we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire go 32, and I thought he was the 5th best back in that class.
Agreed.
So I couldn't tell you. The NFL knows. So we know that the running back position is losing value. We are aware.
Yeah.
It's very common for us to be aware of something and the NFL not to realize it 5 years later. And we've kind of gotten to that point. Like we've been running backs don't matter. Like analysts or fans, whatever you want to call people, like me, you, or anyone. Like we've this movement that running backs aren't actually necessary for a quality run game has been going on for a little bit, and the NFL is 100% starting to understand it. I think Mike Davis last year and his success with Christian McCaffrey off the field, I think that played a huge part of it. We saw when James Conner came in for Le'Veon and just produced. And we saw dating way back when DeMarco Murray was going 1,600 yards for Dallas, left for Philadelphia, and then DeMarco Murray put up 1,200, and then Zeke came in and put up 1,400 in 3 straight years. So I definitely think that the NFL is starting to recognize that the position itself does not possess that much value. So it's hard for me to see a team like the Steelers, who have big need at offensive tackle, could use another receiver. What's going to happen with their quarterback? A couple of defensive needs as well. Like they still need a center now that Pouncey's retired. So there are definitely holes that outweigh the running back position. But I wouldn't be surprised if they took one of those guys, right? If Najee's there at 24, I could definitely see that.
I just feel like he's the prototype for a Steelers back,
It would definitely make sense. Yeah. As far as Buffalo goes, I mean, they need some tackle help. They need an edge rusher. So there's definitely – they could use – I mean, yeah. So there's definitely questions on where these running backs are going to go. Like we said, we didn't see Clyde go until 32. And that was when the Chiefs literally felt like they could pick whoever they wanted. It didn't matter. So they texted Pat Mahomes, said, all right, dude, who do you want? And they picked him.
Yeah. I would have taken Jonathan Taylor all day, every day.
I would have taken DeAndre Swift. That was my RB1.
Well, I mean, for the Chiefs, that DeAndre would have been perfect.
Oh, my God. DeAndre Swift would have been really fun on that team.
Yeah.
I still would have taken that.
I want to ask you, though, back to free agency, the last question I got. A guy he's my number one target when I did a top 10 free agent target list for the Dolphins, Corey Linsley. We want to run a lot of RPOs and screens, and I think he's not only is he arguably one of the best centers, I think he's the best center right now in the screen game. What are your thoughts on Corey Linsley? And, the numbers I'm hearing is between 9.5 to, again, 11, 12 million. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Corey Linsley? And when you look at a line like us with, we'll get into it, but I'm a big proponent of Sewell at 3. Then I can kick Robert Hunt into right guard, have Kinley at his natural left guard position, and then I can have Austin Jackson continue his development at left tackle and get beat across the face like he was at USC. But that's a different story for a different day. What are your thoughts on Corey Linsley, and how impactful do you think it would be to have a guy like that who's coming off literally an all-pro season, manning between being flanked by 2 second-year guys like Hunt and Kinley for their growth and development?
I mean, a smart center does so much for your offensive line just in terms of understanding he's the head on top of the shoulders, right? He's the guy that's calling the protections. He's calling the mic blitzes. He's identifying the mic. He obviously has to be in tune with his quarterback, so it's huge. With Linsley, I don't know that – I thought he was phenomenal this year, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I don't know if I think he's the best center in the NFL right now just because there's a couple of guys that are up for there. I do think that center is one of those positions where it's like there's maybe 10 – now that the Pouncey brothers are all retired, probably about 10 guys who I think are real close to each other just in terms of like all of them are high-quality centers. And you can pick any one and say, oh, this is the best guy and these are the reasons, and you can't really be like, oh, no, I don't accept that. Like there's a good – I'd probably say – out of Detroit, I love Frank Ragnow so much. Yeah, I think he's so good. But, Corey Linsley would be huge. Get him. You can have Eric Flowers be that swing guard now. Just play him wherever he's needed. He also has experience at tackle. Boston Jackson's being terrible, but that sounds even worse.
Yeah, I know.
I loved Kinley. I was not necessarily coming out, but I was a big – I remember when Mina Kimes said that, like, oh, well, the Dolphins' offensive line is horrendous. And I was like, oh, I don't know about all that. Like, yeah, they could use improvement, but I definitely think there's stuff to work with. Getting Linsley in right there. I'm also a huge. There's some centers I really like in this class too that I think we'll talk about a little bit later. But Linsley would work for 10 probably is what I would want if I was like a coach. Like that's probably where I would try and cap it off. I don't know if I like 11 because that's just a lot to pay for a center. just comparative to others at the position. But the market is the market, right? Free agents always tend to reset their position. So, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. How old is he?
I think he's 29.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't want to.
I would give him 3 years max, and I would have an out in the third year is what I would do,
If you
right?
get something like that, then like even 11 or 12 at that point is probably fine.
Yeah.
As long as you can get a short-term contract like that. If he's asking for 4 or 5 years, that's when you have to be like, all right, dude, well, then we're giving you like 9.5.
Yeah. Guys, we got 178 in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here. Okay, let's get into a little bit of draft talk. I can't wait till we get to one specific topic, but you're looking at the Dolphins sitting at 3. What are your thoughts? I mean, I'm personally a proponent of, I don't think any receiver in this class is worth the number 3 pick. And I'm a proponent of Penei Sewell or trade back. What do you think is the best route for a team like the Dolphins to do at number 3?
First and foremost is not taking Jamar Chase. I don't know how many people that's going to bother here. That is the biggest mistake I think the Dolphins make on draft day, is that they sit there, they go, you know what? We're sitting here with Devontae Parker and Preston Williams who can't really separate, and that struggled with Tua. Let's go get Jamar Chase, who of the top receivers in this class, probably the worst at separating. Doesn't make sense to me. Yes, Jamar Chase is a quality prospect. I don't have him as wide receiver 1. I have him as wide receiver 3, but he's tied with Waddle, and I haven't graded Rashad Bateman yet. So I don't have his, I don't know for sure, but I could 100% see him passing Waddle and Chase. I could also see him being just under. I don't know for sure, but I would definitely, I mean, if I'm the Dolphins, I'm taking Sewell at 3. He's my second highest rated prospect. Mm-hmm. He's also my second highest rated prospect ever.
Ever?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Now, I've only been doing this for like 3 or 4 years.
But that's still good. Hey, that's still a lot of prospects.
First is Trevor Lawrence, go figure. And the only major difference between them is that I have a positional rating on my scale. So Trevor Lawrence being a quarterback just pushes it over just a bit. But yeah, both were graded in the same. So the only 3 players I've ever had reach a 90 or above grade are, last year it was Chase Young. And then this year it's Trevor Lawrence and Penei Sewell. So those are the only 3 guys. So those 3 guys I hold in the same esteem, right? Okay. Those are guys where the tag generational gets thrown on, and it's like, okay. Where like some other people were like, all right, let's not say all that. With those 3 players, I think it's very real. I think there are a couple tackles in this class whose upside might be higher than Sewell's, but what he is right now at what he's done, how he's played, what he shows, it just all looks to translate. Right, like I look at it and I'm like, all right, this is a guy who's going to be a quality NFL tackle from day one. At the minimum, he's going to be a guy who's going to be a phenomenal run blocker. I think he's probably going to be a top 3 to 5 run blocking offensive tackle from day one. And as a pass protector, I mean, the hip flexibility and ankles dexterity is phenomenal. The footwork could be cleaned up, and it probably will be. I mean, he's going to be in the NFL, right? Everything works for me. That any red flag I've ever had for like an offensive tackle, I don't question with him whatsoever. There's nothing where I'm like, yeah, that's how he's gonna like not work out in the NFL. So he screamed the correct selection at 3 to me.
I want to keep on this Penei Sewell thing for a sec. I've gotten to debates. What are people talking about with? They're worried about his lateral movement and he should be kicked into guard. Like, what are these people talking about, bro?
They didn't watch the Auburn game.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I understand Penei Sewell is not a 1% athlete, right? He's not Christian. Yeah. He's not Tristan Wirfs or Trent Williams, someone like that. That's fine. He doesn't have to be. You don't have to be an amazing athlete to be a good offensive tackle, right? So I don't understand where that thought process has come from. Now, I value athletic ability very highly, and Penei Sewell is not a poor athlete by any means. Yep. That's the thing. That's what people don't understand. People think that if you're not a 1% athlete, you're a bad athlete, and that's not how that works.
Mm-hmm. So would you put him in the category of like a good athlete?
Yeah, he's more than passable.
Yeah.
I think he's Andrew Thomas at worst, who went 4th overall.
Yeah. In terms of athletic, not overall.
In terms of athletic ability, not play. Yes. And yes, Andrew Thomas was very, very bad.
He got better by the end, though.
He got a lot better towards the end of the year. Was he as good as the other 3 tackles that he was drafted ahead of? No. But he was better than Austin Jackson. So
Preach. All right. So continuing on here with Penei. What were your thoughts about Robert Hunt coming out? Do you think, like me, my comp for him coming out, and I hate player comps. Let me put that out. But I saw Brandon Schreff like in the flesh all over again. Big guy, strong, but he needs to be kicked inside because I think you're going to get more from him if you kick him inside. Do you think drafting Sewell, because I don't know if you've seen it, but I posted the clips from high school with Sewell at right tackle, absolutely killing people.
Yep, yeah, I've seen it. Yep.
You know what I mean? So, first of all, I got two questions for you. Are you worried at all about Penei translating to the right side?
Not
not at all.
No, Jedrick Wills just went from right to left tackle.
Exactly. That's what I said to somebody.
I've never. Now, could it be? Yes, it could. Could Penei Sewell just not be a good right tackle? It's plausible, right? Like I can't speak on him personally on if he's just not comfortable kick setting from the right tackle position, but he's not shown me anything where I think he has to be a left tackle if he's going to play tackle.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on Robert Hunt? Like, I think, you talked about the hip flexibility and the ankle dexterity. I think his hip flexibility when he drops his butt is tragic.
I was shocked when I found out Miami wanted him at tackle. When they drafted him, I was like, oh, okay, I love this pick. Put him at guard. And then they were like, oh, we're going to put him at right tackle. And I was like, didn't you just draft Tua? Like, this is your plan?
Yeah.
I was not on the same wavelength as Miami in last year's draft up until like day 3. But, I mean, I love Brian Flores. They killed it, right? So they succeeded regardless. But I think when you look at how their draft, like how much capital they had, you really would have liked more from their rookie class. But yeah, with Robert Hunt, I just viewed him as a guard, right? It made, and I'm a huge don't move tackles to guard unless they have to play guard. Robert Hunt is one of those people who just has to play guard. I just don't think he has the physical tools required to play tackle in the NFL at an average to above average level.
Yeah.
I think he could be a very, very good guard. I don't know if I think he'd be as good as Brandon Scherf, but I think he could be more than adequate, right? I think he'd be a phenomenal run blocker, and he's no longer in that island on that space where he has to deal with a faster edge rusher on the interior, less room to work with. All he has to do is kind of hunker down, make sure he's not letting the guy get past him. Much, much more simple. Much, I don't want to say easier, right? Because then it's not easy to block DeForest Buckner or Aaron Donald, right? But
no, I agree. I just, okay, so we know Sewell's your number one guy. Who's your number two guy? Is it Slater, Vera Tucker? I know I love Cosme. So when I heard you talking about him before I went live, I love that. And Cosme, correct me if I'm wrong, he has reps at right tackle, doesn't he?
I think so, because I think he would have came into Texas in Connor Williams, the guard for the Cowboys right now, his last year at left tackle for Texas. Yeah. So it would definitely be possible. I don't know off the top of my head, but.
So how's your tackle class stack up?
Sure. So OT1 is Penei Sewell. And then interestingly enough, the space between my number one offensive tackle, my number two offensive tackle is smaller than the space between my OT2 and my OT3. So I have Penei Sewell and Christian Darsaw, both top 5 players. Yep. Love Darsaw. Gives me Trent Williams vibes. Yeah. Not the elite athlete, but they play the same way, get to their spots, real great short level explosion, gets into space really, really well. Love Darsaw. At 3, Sam Cosme. Big fan. 4, Rashawn Slater. And 5 is Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. I have Elijah Vera Tucker graded as a guard only because when I first started his eval, he was at guard. Yeah. I don't mind where you play him. I think he has like 5 position flexibility just because I love the offensive tackle class. Not a huge fan of the IOL class. Elijah Vera Tucker just kind of evens out the rankings for me. And I think he has a better chance of getting ranked higher at guard.
Do you think this tackle class is deeper than last year's?
Deeper, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's quite as talented at the top. I think Penei's better than Wirfs, but then I think Wirfs and Wills are better than Darsaw.
Okay.
And then Andrew Thomas and Becton are both better than Cosme.
Bro, I love it because, I had Wirfs as my OT1 in October 2019, and I had Wills as my OT2, so I'm loving what you're saying right now, bro.
I was right here on the same channel, when we were talking about it, and I was like, listen, I would have just taken Tristan Wirfs, would have made more sense, but
Yeah, I know. Oh my God! When he came back against Bradley Chubb and he started getting it with Jackson, it looked like USC all over. He couldn't handle guys coming across his face, bro. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, this is what we draft. Like I did this on a live reaction on a different channel during the draft, Matt. I swear to God, I called 2 at 5. I called Jackson at 18. I called Noah when he traded back at 30. I called Raekwon at 56. I prepped our fan base for Curtis Weaver, Kinley, Benito
Did Curtis
Jones.
Weaver play this year?
No, we cut him, and then because he got injured and he was at the Browns.
I remember now.
You know what I mean? So I prepped us for Hunt. Etc. Brother, on live reaction, live stream. When 18 came around, you can hear me saying on screen, "Please don't be Austin Jackson. Please don't be Austin Jackson." And when that
pick the same way,
I was like, "You guys are reaching because of the run, bro." I would have taken Cesar Ruiz at 18 before I would have taken
awesome.
that guy.
I would have loved that pick.
Oh my God.
There were a number of picks that just made more sense.
See, I don't like when not only do you settle for the board, but you panic with how the board's dropping.
Yeah.
You know
I don't like. They also reached for need, which is something that I think is just poor drafting.
Thank you very much.
You should always just take the best player available at a position that you need. Austin Jackson on nobody's board. I don't care who you are, was the number 1 player at that time.
Don't you think we could have got him at 26 if we just would have sat there?
Maybe. I mean, apparently the NFL really liked him. Hopefully he's good, right? Like I would love for him to succeed. Right, I want to preface this with I was not a fan. I don't even think I had him in my top 10 offensive tackle.
I had him number 10.
Yeah, I had Matt Pert over him, and I think that would have been a pick too. Matt Pert would have been awesome for them on day 2.
Yeah,
because he would have played right tackle for him. But
I would have taken Lucas Niang over him. Bro.
Yeah, no, we talked about this too. I would have taken if you were planning on playing Robert Hunt at 30 or wherever they took him. If you're planning on playing him at right tackle, Lucas Niang just made more sense to me. But
yeah,
We'll see what they plan on doing, but yeah, Sewell. Because I like the Dolphins. I don't like. I get into a lot of beef with Dolphins Twitter because the Chase Young versus Tua Tagovailoa stuff got like crazy for a while. But I love the Dolphins, and so ideally everything starts to work out. I was not on board with a lot of their draft picks last year. And I just pray they are not taking Jamar Chase at 3. Like I think that is. I don't want to say this sounds really, really negative, but I think them taking Jamar Chase at 3 is like where the fork is. Like you can take Sewell, and I think Miami is now on their way to building a AFC competitor for the next 10 years, or you can take Chase, and I think they miss out on the playoffs for the next couple of years because it's just so massive to miss on that 3rd pick.
I agree.
Like what happens if they take Chase? He becomes an average receiver, right? Like 950 yards. 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, maybe, right? He's an okay, solid number 1, and then Sewell's a top 3 tackle in the NFL, right? Just doesn't, and you're still stuck with that hole at right tackle.
Can I ask you this, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I the only one? Yeah, he burned AJ Terrell. Yeah, he burned Trevon, but they gave him issues in press. When you go to the Auburn game, they gave him serious issues in press coming out. And this is a guy where everyone, he can use his hands to separate. Yeah. Oh, he's so physical at the line of scrimmage. Well, okay, first of all, I've seen on tape, and I put it in my wide receiver big board because, buddy, Chase is wide receiver 4 for me. I got Bateman at 3, Smith at 2, and Waddle at 1. Okay, just because I think Waddle more, and if you want to count Pitts as a receiver, are the most dynamic receivers in this class.
I had thought Jalen Waddle was going to be my wide receiver 1 after going through the process and filling out my board, right, my scale, putting everything in. Devontae Smith came out 1, and Waddle and Chase were tied. I don't know how it happened, to be honest, but I got to kind of trust the board, so we're going to live with that. Like I said, Rashad Bateman could be – and because they came out – Waddle and Chase came out with the same grade because they're pretty much as polar opposite players as they get. It's up to my discretion who I want to put first, and I'm 10 out of 10 times taking Waddle first. And so, I'm not 100% sure with Bateman. Yeah, I would rather the Dolphins take Pitts at 3 for sure, without question. If they're dead set on getting a weapon for Tua, I think first and foremost you have to just trade back. Like that just makes way more sense. Huge quarterback draft, right? Everyone wants to move up for a quarterback. Let's say Zach Wilson goes 2. You have Justin Fields at 3. There's no doubt in my mind the Panthers will give you 8. Their second and the 2021 or 2022 first off that to move to 8. At 8, you're still getting one of Waddle, Chase, Smith, or Pitts. One of those 4, who you would take at 3 anyways.
I got to ask you though, because now we're talking about it. This Mac Jones hype. Oh my God, brother! I got to tell you this. So as you know, I have a pod with Richmond Webb, and it's on the Brawl Network, right?
Yeah.
And I was talking with the Brawl Network president today, and he was showing screenshots. He's talking to an NFL scout, and I'm seeing screenshots from an NFL scout. There's legitimate talk about Mac Jones going at 8. I'm like, what?
I'm praying. I am praying. That'd be so funny.
Come on. How can a team, brother? You know, okay, we're on the internet. We're not sitting here in scouting departments, but I trust your eyes and I trust my own eyes. You're telling me teams are willing to invest a top 10 pick in him over Trey Lance?
Listen, we were talking about Kyle Trask being a first rounder for a while there. For a while. The NFL loves to take bad quarterbacks. Like that's just and okay. I don't think Mac Jones is bad. Would I want my team to spend a first round pick on Mac Jones? No. Would I want another team to take one? Probably, because I think it would be funny. But I don't. Yeah, I mean Mac Jones. There's nothing about Mac Jones's games where I watch it and I'm just like, this is a top 10 quarterback right here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what best possible case scenario is maybe Derek Carr, and we are stretching here. He does not do anything for me. The arm average,
no
the mobility,
traits, right?
average. I'm sorry.
He has no elite traits, right?
There's nothing yet. He's decently accurate. That's about it.
Yeah.
He took my friend, good friend of mine, Dalton Miller. Go follow him on Twitter if you're not.
Blue Chip Scouting.
Yep. He charted Jones recently. Says he had 11 passes in his entire career. He had 11 passes where he was outside of the pocket.
Wow.
And I think like 7 of them went past the line of scrimmage.
Oh my Lord.
So that's just not, you can't do that in the NFL. I just don't think it just doesn't make sense to me.
I want to get your thoughts quickly on Zach Wilson.
I don't like him. He's my least favorite of the top 4.
Really?
Yeah. Because a lot of what he's like, a lot of his excitement that he's getting from people is like, oh, he plays like Mahomes. The issue for me is he does not have the Mahomes talent, right? Mahomes is this perfect blend of, yes, he's playing like this crazy psycho, but he's also the most physically gifted passer in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think anyone, his ability to move, his flexibility in his shoulders, hips, legs, his ability to generate velocity on the ball, and his ability to place a ball, regardless of where he is on the field or how he's throwing it, it's never been matched in NFL history. Yeah. There's a reason in his 3rd season we were talking about, is he going to surpass Tom Brady as the greatest player ever? Like that's insane to me. I don't think we recognize it enough. Like he's a LeBron James type of superstar, and so stop comparing players to him. It doesn't make sense. Same thing with Mac Jones. Don't tell me Mac Jones is going to be Tom Brady, because there's only one Tom Brady. Why haven't the 15,000 other unathletic white guys that have played quarterback in the NFL? Why are they not Tom Brady, right? That doesn't make sense to me. You said it earlier. I hate player comps. Yeah. I hate comparing players to either the best players at their position in the NFL or legends, right? It just doesn't sit right with me, because that's just disrespectful. Like don't compare players to guys who have done so much in the NFL that they've built that legacy. And 2, it's unreasonable. It's just unreasonable to expect that from anybody, right? People didn't expect that when those players were drafted. Literally nobody was going to sit here and say, oh yeah, that Tom Brady guy, I think he could be the best. No. Mm-hmm. And so my issue with Wilson is that he plays a lot like Brady or like Mahomes without that talent. And then on top of that, he can't play from a clean pocket, which is crazy to me. Like we've gotten to the point, we're so deep into quarterback evolution and improvisation skills that now quarterbacks don't even know how to win from a clean pocket. They create pressure in their own mind and they start trying to make plays like it's backyard football. If you can take a 5-step drop, plant your foot and deliver a dart 15 yards down the field on a post, I would rather take that than you run around and just chuck a ball up and hope your receiver comes down with it 100 out of 100 times, because I'm getting 100% success rate, ideally, obviously in the hypothetical, with that clean play than I am with your backyard BS. And so it's really, really hard for me to get on that Zach Wilson train. And I also just think Trey Lance, who's my QB3, the tools are just otherworldly. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, if one of these players is going to be Mahomes, it's going to be the dude with the closest physical skill set to Mahomes. And then I love Justin Fields. I'm a huge Justin Fields guy, so he's my QB2.
Do you think there's a chance that the Jets take Fields at 2? Do you think they're going? I think they're going quarterback. Do you think they're going quarterback?
Unless they're on the clock and Sam Darnold's still on their team, I imagine they go quarterback.
And if Sam Darnold's on the team, you think they take Penei or a receiver?
I think they would trade down.
Okay, good.
I think they would just take I think they would take a huge package from whoever wanted their second choice of quarterback.
Okay. Okay, so we established that at 3, you think we should take Penei Sewell. So now we're sitting at 18, our second first round pick. Do you think a guy like Bateman could be there?
Absolutely.
And okay, so what would you be? Would you be targeting a guy like Najee or Bateman at 18?
Probably Najee. Not because I would prefer to take Bateman at 18, but if I'm looking at what I have at 36, I think there's a possibility Rashad Bateman's there. I think there's a possibility Rondale Moore is there, Kadarius Toney, Terrace Marshall, all those guys that I'm close enough on where it's like I'm cool taking them. I don't necessarily have that, like you said, that guaranteed feeling that I'm going to get a top running back. And so I think, if it's strictly between Najee and a receiver, I would probably take Najee just because of how deep this receiver class is.
All right, so at 36, you just gave some names. I gotta ask you though. Obviously, what is your standing on Rondale Moore right now?
Love it.
Do you see Steve Smith 2.0 with this kid?
No, I think you're more likely to get a Curtis Samuel type of guy. But I think he's a better receiver than Curtis Samuel was coming into the NFL. Like, we started to see Samuel kind of get into his own this year, and Carolina never did a real good job with him. Overall, they were still kind of trying to figure out what they were going to do with him. I think Rondale Moore is what Curtis Samuel has been in the NFL. I think that's his floor, right? I think unless injuries take him down. But the dude's, to me, I think he's a better athlete than Waddle is. I think Rondale Moore's probably a better athlete than Ruggs is. The Ruggs was / is. This dude's crazy, like a peak physical human. He's just short. That's it.
Do you think his injuries and his size scare teams off of investing a first in him?
I think it's possible, for sure. I don't know for sure. I'm not in any of the front offices, but I could definitely see it.
Okay, so what would you do at 3 if we take Najee at 18? What receiver would you be like targeting a guy like Nick Bolton, because we don't have an alpha middle linebacker, because I believe Xavien Collins will probably be off the board by then.
So one thing that I've talked about a lot is my love for Micah Parsons in either Miami or New England, because that fit is as good as it gets. I think there's a possibility he's there at 18. That's just on whether or not Chris Greer and Brian Flores are comfortable with that character issues. I'm not going to speak on what is or is not being accused, because I don't have the full story. I don't have access to that locker room. I'm not a news reporter, right? I'm not telling I'm not breaking anything. There are concerns with Micah Parsons off the field, and teams are going to look into it, and I think it will lead to a draft day slide. And so I think it's possible he could be there at 18. And honestly, as long as they're comfortable, they're okay with the off-field stuff.
Would you take him over Najee?
In a heartbeat.
Ooh.
If that's best case scenario for Miami at 18, without question in my mind, because I think Parsons is a top 10 to 12 player in the class regardless. The fit, perfect for Miami. Perfect for Miami. It's just, are we comfortable taking him here?
And no way in your mind Pitts probably slides to 18, eh?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think he falls past 15.
Yeah, the Patriots, huh? Why'd you have to go hit him with a all right, so I just wanted to talk a little bit with you and go a little bit more in depth, because you kind of we talked about a few things, but I do want to go a little bit more in depth with you on Jamar Chase a little bit more. I just wanted to tell you the things that I saw, and I want to get your thoughts on what you think about what I saw, because I did my evaluation I did my top 10 big board honorable mentions, and with the top 5 guys, I went deeper evaluations than 6 through 10. And I felt like I over-explained myself a little bit with Jamar Chase because I knew the pushback I would get. And I attached all 22 to these guys so people could look. You know, what do you think of him as a route runner? Because I don't think he's a very good route runner, man.
I mean, I think he's a great vertical route runner. I think his vertical sets are very good. I think his ability to break, press, moving up the field is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is I don't think he has the breakaway speed to. So if he creates separation at the line of scrimmage, right, 1 to 2 yards of separation, which is really all you can ask for in the NFL. If you look at a guy like Devontae Smith, who I think is substantially more, who I think is more explosive than Jamar Chase, or Jalen Waddle, more to push the point. With someone like Jalen Waddle, if you're a step behind Jalen Waddle, regardless of who you are in the NFL, because I do not believe that there's a single defensive back in the NFL who, as long as Jalen Waddle has 1 to 2 steps in front of you, you're not going to catch up to him before the football does.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase, I think there's a number of guys who do, right? Who, okay, you beat me off the line of scrimmage, but I'm athletic enough to catch up, and now you have to beat me at the catch point, which is what he does. And we saw it with the guy like A.J. Terrell. Terrell was in really good coverage for a lot of that game, right? He wasn't just getting dusted every single game. He wasn't just getting like abused prior to the ball getting there. It was just Joe Burrow was like, all right, here's a ball. It's going to be a little bit closer to Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase took Terrell's lunch money, right?
Yeah.
And so in the NFL, that is substantially more difficult to do, right? Let's say Jamar Chase goes to a team like New England, just a hypothetical. I don't think if they just have him at the X and ask him to play boundary receiver, I can see him. I maybe 2 catches, maybe for like 7 yards. I don't think Xavien Howard or Byron Jones are letting him do anything in the NFL.
Yeah.
At least nothing easy, because I mean they're so long, they're so physical, they're perfect for what he like to defend against what he does. Whereas a guy like Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, because they create separation so much more naturally, it's a lot easier to see how they're going to win in the NFL. With Jamar Chase, I do think that he is a phenomenal contested catch guy.
Yep.
You have to be given those opportunities to succeed with that, right? Tua is not a guy who's comfortable just lobbing balls up to people, which is why we saw the offense struggle when he was in, because that's a lot of Devontae Parker and Preston Williams' game. We saw when he was at Alabama, it was a lot of timing routes. It was a lot of the receivers creating separation, giving the ball in stride, letting them go make a play. That's not what Jamar Chase does. Now, I think Jamar Chase, personally, I think he's best suited to be like a Michael Thomas type. Let him play in the slot, and just he might be covered, but as long as you get the ball to him, he's got a good chance of catching it. So I'm comfortable with that because Michael Thomas isn't a guy who creates a ton of separation. So it's possible to win in the NFL. It's just less likely. And so that's why like Chase at 3 is just, I just struggle to understand the thought process.
And I agree with what you said. I have my valuation, he stacks corners at times with absolutely no issue. I agree with that.
I didn't even answer your question on his route running. It's like, I think the vertical sets are really, really good, but I don't think he's any type of elite route runner. He doesn't have the burst, the change of direction, or the long speed to become, I don't think he can develop into a crazy route runner, right? I think he can get a marginally more clean, maybe a little more urgent is the word I like to use, right, on his breaks, but you can't ask him to be sharper on his cuts because he doesn't have the physical ability to do so. Now, with a guy like DK Metcalf, he does not have that ability to be an elite route runner. I don't think DK's ever going to be an elite route runner. The separation is DK's 3 inches taller and runs a 4.34 or whatever it was he ran, right? So like that's where you see the separation where it's like people are going to be like, oh, Jamar Chase is just, let him be a deep threat like DK Metcalf. You can't. That's not how that works.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. He ran a 4.66 in high school. I said in my evaluation I wouldn't be surprised if he runs at best a 4.5. What are your thoughts on? Yeah. What are your thoughts on his 40? And another one, brother. You know what? Let me get your thoughts on the 40, and then I got one more question for you regarding Chase.
Yeah, I think he's like a 4.5, 3 to 5 guy. I just don't. I don't think he's an amazing athlete.
No thanks. I'll take Terrace Marshall over him. Anyways, a concern that's been floating around, and we talked about it before I went live here. The picture came out with, you pointed out, it was Justin Jefferson in the middle. But also Devontae Smith is on the far left side, and then Jamar's on the right. Devontae Smith is 6'1". Jim Nagy, who runs the Senior Bowl, came out with a good tweet yesterday saying Justin Jefferson, he was listed by LSU at 6'3", came to the Combine last year, got listed at about 6'1". If we go by that, Chase could come in at about 5'11", and it looks like from the picture he's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches shorter than Devontae Smith. When we're talking about a contested catch guy whose elite traits I think are only at the catch point, is that worrisome if he's only going to be 5'11"?
I mean, yeah, right. Like I would rather have a contested catch guy who's 6'6", if that's what you're asking, right? Like that just it's the same thing. Like if you have a guy who you deem only a deep threat, you would want them to be fast, right? That's where I'm like, shit, Jamar, like you played with like this deep threat receiver, this vertical guy, but you're not this. You don't have those physical traits. Yes, dominated the catch point, and I'm one of two things is going to happen. I'm almost positive. Either he's going to flare out of the NFL really, really quickly, a la like a Josh Doxson, or he's going to be like the best receiver in the NFL in like 3 years, and I'm going to look like an idiot. So either I'm going to be a genius or an idiot. I don't know which one yet, but I remember in May when I was releasing, right after the draft ended, I released my top 10 players going into the pre-draft process or the summer scouting process. I was like, based off everyone I watched, just like enjoying college football this past year, these are my top 10. Did not have Jamar Chase because I didn't like Jamar Chase. But everyone was already of the belief that he is the best receiver in the class. It was the same kind of stuff that we saw with Jerry Jeudy going into the year prior, where I was like, yo, I like CeeDee Lamb. And people were like, yeah, you're an idiot. And then go and behold, by the time we get to draft time, some people like CeeDee Lamb, some people like Henry Ruggs, some people like Jerry Jeudy. So I think it was the same here, where it's like now people like Devontae Smith, now people like Waddle. Jamar Chase is not the unquestioned best receiver in this class, and nobody should view it that way.
Agreed.
That's where I think it's wrong. I don't believe there's incorrect opinions in scouting, right?
Okay.
Because everything is subjective. Now, if you like walk up to me and you're like, hey, dude, you know what? Austin Jackson was like an amazing left tackle at USC. I'd be like, all right, bro, like you're trolling me, but like everything is subjective, so you can take it, everything with a grain of salt, and nothing is confirmed. The only opinion that I believe is wrong for these wide receivers, if you have Jamar Chase as wide receiver one, you have Jamar Chase as wide receiver one. I don't think that opinion is incorrect. It's just not the opinion that I have. The only opinion that I have that I believe is a true or false statement is if someone thinks that one of these guys is the only correct answer at wide receiver one.
Yeah. That's
when I think that opinion is incorrect.
Okay, I got you. I just wanted to throw this out to you. My buddy, Jeremy Klump, he does stuff for the Fin Fanatic. He worked in the scouting department at Cornell. He interviewed for the scouting department of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He compared, and I started to laugh. He compared him in terms of collegiately, not professionally, because obviously Chase hasn't played professionally yet, to Laquan Treadwell.
It makes sense. That's the same. Laquan Treadwell, Josh Doxson. I mean, the list of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Justin Blackmon, that's kind of a different story. But the list of guys who are, and I don't want to say exclusively because it sounds like I'm demeriting, because I think Chase is still a good enough yak receiver, and I think his hands are good enough that he can be a possession guy. But guys who kind of like made their money, right? They got drafted because of their dominant contested catch situations. If they didn't have the ability to do other things, they flared out of the league very quickly. Dorial Green-Beckham, another one. Like, it was just big, tall receivers that you just tossed the ball up to and they went out and got it. It just doesn't – that play is not suffice in the NFL. That can't be the only way you win. Or if it is the only way you win, you're not an effective receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, Mike Evans, I think, is the only guy where, like, coming out of college, it was like, you know what? He just kind of catches the ball when it's thrown to him. But if you watch Mike Evans play and Jamar Chase play next to each other, there is no question who you think is the better athlete and you think the better route runner is. No question. Mike Evans is great at both of those things. He just doesn't get the credit for it that he should.
Agreed.
But he is a guy. There were concerns coming out, and I understood the concerns of him not being an amazing route runner, an amazing athlete, because he's not of either of them. Now he's developed into a very good route runner, and he's still a good enough athlete for his size. But the dude's 6'5". Jamar Chase maybe 5'11". Like, there's issues there.
All right. So I got a question for you though. Do you have bait? It sounds like you don't, but do you have Pitts
I do.
ranked as a wide receiver?
Oh no! I have Pitts as a tight end.
Okay, and is it because you saw improvement this year in his inline blocking?
Not necessarily. He just considers himself a tight end. His college team considered him a tight end. I understand like the thought process of just moving him to receiver because he played on the boundary so much. I think if you're drafting him and you're playing him in line because you drafted him as a tight end, you're using him wrong. But I'm not of the belief that you have to be a good blocker to be considered a tight end. I'm also not of the belief that you have to be in line for a certain amount of snaps to be, considered a tight end. We all consider
Mike Gesicki, right?
Yeah, exactly. We consider Mike Gesicki, Darren Waller, who I think would undisputed number 2 tight end in the NFL this past year, and a top 3 guy without question overall when Kittle's healthy as well. He doesn't inline block almost ever. Are you going to tell me Darren Waller is just a wide receiver? No.
Yeah.
So if you want to, be like, oh, we're just going to take Kyle Pitts and call him a wide receiver, do whatever you want to do. But I mean, he considers himself a tight end. Florida considered him a tight end. Like, tight end the position doesn't dictate where you line up in a formation. Your coach does that, right?
Yeah.
You can have your ex receiver can be lined up in the slot if your coach wants to label it that. At the end of the day, you're just a weapon. You're a football player.
Agreed. Yeah. I got to follow up with this. If you include Pitts, obviously he's a receiver, not a wide receiver, but just a receiver. Who are your top 3 most dynamic receivers in this class?
Can you define dynamic for me?
Okay, so like after yak ability, once the ball's in their hands in open space, making guys miss, how dangerous you would label the receivers themselves.
Gotcha.
And obviously, speed, I guess you could throw in matters, right?
So first off in my head, Jalen Waddle, Rondale Moore, those are the top 2 guys.
Yeah.
After that, probably Kadarius Toney.
Okay. Are you high on Toney?
Yeah and no. There's this like fine line because, draft Twitter is a lot of it's very split down the middle. People who watch film, people who do analytics. Some of like the far film guys love him. Like think he's a top 4 receiver. Some of the analytics guys, the far analytics guys, despise him. Think he's like a day 3 guy at best. I'm right in that middle. I think he's in that wide receiver.
I've 7.
Yeah, exactly. I'll end up having him in that 6 to 8 tier. A 2nd round grade, right? I don't think he's going to be a 1st round prospect. If Washington took him at 19, right? So as a fan, I would be okay. Like I'm with it. But I understand there are causes for concern, right? There's why didn't he produce until he was a senior? There were some injury histories, some off the field concerns, drops, right? There are reasons to be concerned. I just am not. And also for how he plays, he's not a 4.30 guy, in my opinion, right? I don't think he's near the athlete that Rondale Moore or Jalen Waddle is, but I think he's more difficult to tackle than either of them are in terms of what he does with the ball in his hands. He looks like a point guard, dude. Just his ability to break ankles, just snatch someone's feet away from them. Disgusting. And his contact balance is awesome too. So
yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah, Tony at 36 would make a lot of sense to me too. I mean, keep him in Florida. Colors are the same too, almost.
Yeah, and I'm a Gators fan, so you'd never know it.
I feel like that's like common Miami and in Florida.
Well, I actually live in Canada.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
bro.
I did really. You know what?
Yeah.
I realized this the other day because I got the package and I was like, Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I played 3-down college ball and high school ball, bro. Like I played, you know what I mean, with the wide fields and the end zone. Yeah, you know what I mean. The end zones where you could put like 8 buses in there.
Get a concussion trying to shoot a slant route at the 1 yard line because there's a field goal there.
Yeah, bro. When you're playing 3-down ball and you're running for the first 2 downs, like what the hell is going on right now? Aren't I supposed to be throwing the football?
I mean, Canadian football is exciting because it's just I don't understand it. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, Ricky didn't find it so much exciting when he left Florida and came up here and played for Toronto. And also quietly, at the collegiate level, obviously it didn't work out. I was a huge Chris Leak fan, bro. At the collegiate level, that guy just got things done for us. You know what I mean? So anyways, let's get into your specialty a little bit more. Let's talk about centers, bro. Who's your center 1 in this draft?
Creed Humphreys. Ooh. I think people have started to fall off of Creed, with preference to like Josh Myers or Landon Dickerson. I think if you look at the three of them, Creed has the most starts. I think he has the longest span of quality football played. Does not come with the same injury history that either of them have dealt with. To me, like I would take Creed in the first round to a team that needed him. To be honest, I think he would be.
Do you think he's better than Ruiz?
Yeah, probably.
Ooh.
I think Ruiz probably has higher upside just as the elite athlete he is, for the position. But I mean, Creed Humphrey. I've been a huge fan of Creed Humphrey for 4 years now.
Yeah.
Because when he was a true freshman or a redshirt freshman. I'm sorry. So 3 years now. When he was a redshirt freshman, he was playing on an Oklahoma line that had. Once he gets drafted, all 5 of those starters will have been drafted.
Yeah.
A couple of them pretty high too.
And he's a great communicator.
Yeah, he's just so good. Like I don't have any problems with Creed Humphrey. The only thing that I list as a quote unquote weakness is a lack of elite athletic ability. So if your biggest weakness is that you don't possess something, I don't.
Does his arm length worry you?
Center's dead, doesn't matter because what's a fucking 300? Sorry, I don't know if I can curse.
No, you can curse. That's fine.
What's a 320-pound like? No,
I just asked because I saw people saying, you can't kick him to guard because of his arm length, and I'm concerned about that. You know what I mean?
Arm length. So I like to compare arm length to bend for edge rushers.
Okay, that's a good one.
It is not a requisite to be a good football player at your position. It is not. You see, Ryan Kerrigan can't turn a corner to save his life. Dude's got almost 100 sacks in his career.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to tell me Ryan Kerrigan hasn't been a good.
He's a beast.
Exactly. Right. So you don't have to be
Your
an amazing. You don't have to
Your
be super
defense
bendy.
is so good, bro.
Well, Kerrigan's probably going to be gone this year. But
bro,
you
guys
don't
got so many pieces. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And they're all young, man.
Quarterback.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm sorry to get off topic here. You guys are I keep telling people next to San Francisco, you guys are the ideal fit for Deshaun.
Yes, sir.
You have McLaurin. You have obviously a Gibson. Bro, you have a solid O-line, right? If you retain Trent. Sorry, no, Trent's gone. My bad. Sure.
Trent could come back though. Don't say he gone.
Yeah, I know. But you have you have a pretty good O-line as is.
As long as Trent comes back.
You can afford to give up a defensive piece in the front 7 because you're so freaking stacked. And here's the other thing. Buddy, if 7 and 9 is good enough to win that division, Deshaun Watson with that Washington football team would dominate for the next 10 years. You guys have 10 straight division titles, bro.
Yeah, and Taylor Heineke almost beat Tom Brady. So
yeah. Have you heard anything? Are you guys in on it at all or no?
So to my knowledge, they are exploring every plausible avenue for a new quarterback. Any quarterback that is available, they are thinking about.
Yeah,
they were in on
Lance
Stafford.
is such a good fit for you guys too.
People like after the trade was made, sending Stafford to LA, a number of people were like, I would have taken the Washington offer for sure.
Yeah, because you guys had a better offer on the table, didn't you?
Yeah, a first this year and a third this year, and I think a pick next year. So yeah, they got 2 firsts, but they're going to be 2 Rams firsts in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love Trey Lance too, or Fields. Either of them would be amazing on the team too. Honestly, my guess right now is that it's going to be Newton or Mariota.
Oh,
like they're going to find their guy eventually, but ideally they find their guy eventually. I've been saying that for 21 years now.
Just move up for Trey if you can't get Deshaun.
I don't know if they'll be able to. That's the thing is like, I honestly I think 4 quarterbacks could go in the first 6 picks.
Oh.
I think 5 quarterbacks go in the first 8.
Is Mac Jones one of those quarterbacks?
I mean, I'm not going to take that off the table. Now, if Mac Jones goes before Trey Lance, I think that's telling about what the NFL thinks of Lance.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about your center one. You gave 3 names. I got to ask you, what were your thoughts on Quinn Minera's Senior Bowl performance?
I loved him. Honestly, of all the guards, he's probably going to be my 3rd ranked guard. Yeah, dude, like he was so good. Like he was just there with the best in the country, and he was rocking people.
Patrick Jones.
Hands are so fast. Hands are stupid fast for what he does. I watched some of the tape. Granted, I take everything with a grain of salt because if you're a Division III football player trying to be in the NFL, you should look like you're playing 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you saw. Like he just dominated.
Yeah, he did.
Snap in, snap out. But yeah, dude's awesome. Like,
Do you
like,
buy him at center?
Sure. I mean, I don't think he can't do it. I don't know if he can snap. Right, I've never seen him.
Yeah.
But if he says he can, and then I guess he can.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would look really good there at center. The the long hair, the burly white dude. Yeah, no, I'm definitely with that.
Yeah.
That aesthetic is really good.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask you just on Creed Humphrey for a sec. Do you put much stock in the fact that, like for a team like us, that he's a left-handed snapper and our quarterback's left-handed?
So I've never played center. Admittedly, I've snapped the ball like 3 times in my life, just BSing around in practice. I don't know, and I have had someone tell me that, like ask me that question. Truthfully, I have no idea. I don't know if that's better. I don't know if that's worse. I have no insider knowledge on whether or not the dominant hand of the center or quarterback affects the snap.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, you know what, bro? I fucking respect and love your honesty. So
I'll try and find out one day. Like I've had a couple people ask me, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I feel
that's like a
also,
question we got to ask like a center who's playing position, right?
And not just that, like maybe Creed's like, nah, dude, like every snap's exactly the same. My quarterbacks love it. That's cool.
Yeah.
But then I could ask another left-handed center in 3 years, and they'll be like, it has provided problems. So it could also just be a case-by-case thing.
Agreed.
I can't think of any reason why it would be a problem.
Yeah. Guys, we got 250 people in the room right now. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't. All right, so we got a couple questions left before you get out of here, brother, because we're already going over an hour. I don't want to take up your whole night. Who is your middle linebacker one?
Depends on what you need. If I'm Miami, for Miami, Parsons for sure. Because you already have Jerome Baker. Raekwon McMillan's still on the team, right?
No, he's gone. He's on the Raiders.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I should have said that. Yeah, I mean, with a guy like Jerome Baker too, like you just high athlete, quality coverage backer, just not phenomenal in between the tackles. So a guy like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who's my LB1B, phenomenal in man coverage, a little bit light to play linebacker. So kind of like, do you want him to be at that mic? Do you want him? And like for Washington, I would be all for it, right? Because I think they have the defensive line to prevent him from getting caught up in traffic. But I do think while Miami's defensive line is better than some people give it credit for, I do think it gets a lot of help from that secondary. But yeah, so I think Micah Parsons probably would make the most sense to me.
Are you high on Xavien Collins?
Enough, right? Like I wouldn't mind. I would definitely be interested in Miami taking them at 18 or 36 if he makes it.
I want to get your thoughts on this player because he's my man crush in the linebacker class. What are your thoughts on Nick Bolton? Because I'm a
huge fan, bro. He's a little small, which worries me. And like that 6 foot frame is like, ugh. But I have no, like, I don't watch him play and think like, oh, he really, really has to work on this. Like, well-rounded player. The size is a little bit concerning. I like the athletic ability. Excellent in the open field, which is so much to ask of. From players nowadays, which is how special players are at making people miss. I mean, you see like 4-year-olds walking around trying to juke people now, like that translates. Like that's just the NFL, that's football in general, right? You see it start to seep into what these people do. And it's why we're getting such talented players on the field right now. So someone like Nick Bolton who can make an open field tackle and you can feel comfortable that if he's in space with a dynamic playmaker, he has a good chance to make that tackle. I think that's huge to have from the linebacker position.
Yeah, and I love the mean streak he plays with. Like,
that
you hear his hits, eh? You
a lot. You know what though? Xavien Collins, JOK, and Parsons will all light you up too. That's what I really, really like. This linebacker class has no problem getting busy in the hole. They are more than welcoming contact. Yeah.
Agreed, man. Now, we have Bobby McCain back there. He had a pretty good year, a lot better than what we expected. And then we got Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe really only struggled.
Kind of random, yeah.
I know. But Eric Rowe, brother, he shut out Kittle, and he only struggled with Waller and Kelsey.
Well, honestly, I think he's like that's such a good place for him because he was originally taken as a cornerback for Philadelphia. I remember when he was drafted, and then he got moved to New England. So I think that's an awesome like spot for him because I don't think he's athletic enough to deal with like really, really fast running backs, but I don't think he's good enough behind the line of scrimmage to just be a full-time strong safety.
Mm.
So I think he's a great mismatch piece. And you also have Brandon Jones right in the
Yep.
wing, so I like the Texas, who I think is a really, really good strong safety, awesome in the open field. Like I really, really like Brandon Jones. That's a really quality safety trio.
Mhm.
So I mean,
We just have no depth behind those
yeah,
guys. And
yeah.
so that's
But
why I wanted to ask you, who's your safety one in this class?
probably Trayvon Moehrig out of TCU.
Love him.
There's a couple guys that I really like in this class.
Name them, because I love a Darius Washington too, brother.
Yeah, both TCU guys are really, really good.
Yeah.
I like Paris Ford a lot more than the
Yep,
consensus. I
from
think
Pitt.
he's gonna be super
Love him.
fun.
He lays the lumber too,
At
brother.
like a buck 85, whatever he weighs, he will rock your world playing like
I
a
love
freaking
him.
8th grader. But yeah, I mean the safety class is a lot better than I think the initial expectation of it was. Like I think some of them, and I think it's well rounded in like they have what you need. If you want like a typical strong safety that blurs the line between linebacker and safety, you have a guy like Hamza Nasir-Dean, or you can play Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah JOK at that strong safety spot if you want to. If you want a guy who's going to be a center fielder, Trayvon Moehrig does that really, really well. I think Andre Cisco does that amazing. I think Paris Ford could do that. Stearns does that. I like guys like Richie Grant. I like a ton too.
Love him from UCF.
I'm a big Javon Holland fan.
I want to hear your thoughts on Javon in a sec.
So okay, yeah, we can talk about that in a second. So I mean, like the safety class overall is just it's well rounded in terms of there's a lot of players that do a lot of different things. I don't think any one player is super, super similar to the next. I think that's when like a safety group of all strong safeties does nothing for me. Because why would I take this guy if I can take another one just like him 10 picks later or 10 picks later or 10 picks later, right? So, but something like this that has just such this awesome, well-rounded, smorgasbord of options, I'm definitely a fan, right? Yeah, I do my best.
What's your thoughts on Javon Holland? Because, brother, I know he opted out this year, but, I watched this kid boundary snaps, slot snaps, box snaps, single high perch snaps. The guy literally does freaking everything.
Whatever they ask him to do.
You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on Javon Holland, and what do you make of the slide he's had?
So this is so I don't think it's necessary. Like the NFL is going to be as high on these players as their peak probably would be my guess. Like when we get to when draft Twitter gets to a player, finally gets around to him, and then everyone's watching him. That's what I've recently learned or recently understood, saw it happen for my own eyes. Like I had this epiphany where I was like, you know what, draft Twitter's attention span is like mine, like my ADHD goes crazy. Like it's one thing after the other, but the issue is it's such a big group think. So it's like, yo guys, I just discovered this cornerback out of Syracuse. His name is Ifeatu Melifonwu, and he's crazy. First person says that, right? Then the next person watches it, and then the next thing you know, my timeline is exclusively that player for a week. That's what it is. And some people, and then in 3 months, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that dude. Yeah. While other people are still holding on, like, yo, that's CB1, dog. So it's so like it's this crazy, and it moves player to player. We got to Javon Holland in June, right? And the issue is, nobody's gone back to him because your eval from summer scouting is your final eval because he doesn't have any new tape. Same thing with Jamar Chase. The only difference is Jamar Chase plays a sexy position, right? Everyone wants a wide receiver. Everyone wants to be cool. Like everyone, the divas, the dynamic ability. Everyone loves the pass catchers. So it's easy for him to keep in. And then a guy like Devontae Smith, right, goes crazy, has this crazy year. Jalen Waddle does his thing. And now it's like, oh, is Jamar Chase not wide receiver 1 anymore? That brings his name back into conversation, right? With safety, a position where it's like, oh, yeah, he's pretty cool. Or, yeah, he's good. Like, people still love Javon Holland. It's just that we're not talking about him much because we really don't have to. We know what he is, what we like about him, and where we think he'll go. We don't have to talk about him because, A, we don't think anyone's there's no huge competition for the safety 1. Whoever safety 1 is safety 1. It is what it is. No one's going to get, butthurt about it. Whereas wide receiver 1, every other person you meet, it feels like, oh, you don't have Jamar Chase as wide receiver 1? Screw you. You don't know what you're talking about. That's a hot take. Oh, you don't have Devontae Smith as wide receiver 1? He just won the Biletnikoff. Obviously, that's logic. Jalen Waddles is the best, most dynamic player of those 3. Why wouldn't he be wide receiver 1? Whereas with safety, it's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. I like this guy. Oh, yeah, I like him too. It's just, it's not so contested.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's a good take, man. I got a couple more questions for you, but I got to throw a curveball first. Have
Okay.
you had it? Because I'm a firm believer of, and again, I hate comps, but I saw a lot of Chris Jones in Raekwon's game, and then I see him this year and the way he was developing, and I saw it coming a little bit to fruition once he started getting better in the leverage game. And he obviously made the Pro Football Writers of America All Rookie team. I was banging
I
the
did speak of him a couple times.
yeah,
My
yeah.
rookie rank.
Yeah, he's a solid guy, and a lot of
Yeah,
people
rock
didn't
solid. That's
like
what he
that,
comes
like
across
that
as, just
pick.
like a rock solid.
Yeah.
tackle.
But I still think he's best suited where we can find that true run stuffing, gap filling zero tech, because we run the 3-4, obviously,
Yeah.
right? For running downs and flank that zero tech in the interior with Wilkins and Raekwon, and then on passing downs, third downs, kick
Take him off
Raekwon
the
back
field.
inside, right?
Yeah, no, I'm
Exactly.
definitely with that. That makes a lot of sense to me.
So I gotta ask you, when you look at the zero techs in this class, right? The guys who would fit that, like the Jordan Scotts, the Alim McNeils, and the Tyler Shelvins, how do you, like, who do you like the most that could fit that role in this draft?
So you're just looking. We're talking about
Just
a
pure
nose tackle,
zero
right?
tech, yeah.
A guy
yeah.
who you're putting on the field to eat snaps on early downs, eat up double or triple teams, and let the rest of your defense make plays.
Boom.
I think we're taking Alim McNeil right off of the debate right here, because I think you don't want him off the field, right? I think he's good enough where you want him to stay on the field for the passing downs, because I think he's a good enough pass rusher. I'm going to be 100% honest. Running backs are not that important. Like, the running back position, I don't think has a ton of value anymore. I feel the exact same way of the nose tackle position, because the difference between Tyler Shelvin into Jordan Scott into someone else whose name's forgetting me. Give me 1 sec. It's not that dynamic. It's not that like dramatic. You're gonna find a guy. Oh, Tadarius Slayton was the other guy from Florida,
yeah.
right?
Florida,
More than you can get him in late day 3, 350 pounds. Literally, just plug him in, let him eat that space. So I think you get like 5 to 10 dudes per draft. That is just like, yeah, he could be a good nose tackle, because that's what they are, right? They don't possess a lot of, like, yeah, you need one on your defense, but what you have to go through to acquire one, not that difficult. There will be guys next year, the year after, and the year after, right? So my favorite guy of those was Jordan Davis out of Georgia. He returned to school, which kind of sucks, but
yeah.
I mean, like, if you can get any of Tyler Shelvin, Jordan Scott, or Tadarius Slayton on day 3, that's your starting nose tackle for the next 4 years.
I love Alim McNeil, though. I
do too. I just don't think, like, I just don't want
I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean, though. You'd keep Raekwon on the edge.
Exactly.
Yeah. I agree.
But then I don't think that's where Raekwon feasts.
Exactly.
Right? Then I think you're taking off a lot of pass rush upside.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So
I agree.
Now, if they take Alim McNeil, I'm not going to blame them for taking a good football player, right?
Of course.
It's just, for what you're specifically talking to me about, I don't think that fits.
Okay, cool. What's the strongest position in terms of depth in this class to you?
Probably the wide receivers or the tackles, one of the two.
Okay. I'm surprised. I thought you were going to hit me with the safety. What are your thoughts on Terry from FSU?
So I think it's really funny that he's like gotten back into the like, people start talking about him again. Like, I feel like there was a while we didn't even know what he was doing football wise. The drops are an issue, but I mean, I'm a fan. The tools are there. He just has like this knack for, when he does drop the ball, which is often enough to be worried, it is like a horribly timed drop.
Yeah.
Like offense has momentum, 3rd and 7, get it to your number 1 weapon. Terry drops like a slant, and you're just like, bro, really?
Not so scary, Terry.
Exactly. I mean, I think he's probably going to be a day 3 guy. I think he's got the upside. He's got the physical tools to be like someone you want to bet on, but I think he's just one of those like prospects. Like, I don't think I don't think what he does is good enough to warrant taking him with the top 100 pick just because of his size and speed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My last question for you, brother. And I just want to appreciate you we're about an hour and 15 minutes in, and we got 250 in the room still. So the people are staying, and the comments are blowing up. Everyone's loving you and your takes today, bro. Who are some of your favorite day 3 sleepers in this draft?
Let me pull it up, because I wrote a couple down. First off, Robert Hainsey out of Notre Dame. I think he's got 5 position flexibility. Love that on day 3. I think he's
Great
average player at all 5 of the positions, and that's so impactful for a team.
Yeah.
Xavien Hawkins, running back in Louisville.
Ooh, I like that.
Super big Hawkins fan. I think he's going to get supremely underdrafted, and he's going to have like 4 rushes of 80 yards next year.
Yeah.
Frank Darby, wide receiver out of Arizona State, big fan, explosive. Kind of reminds me a little bit of his teammate Brandon Ayuk. And then 2 edge rushers, William Bradley King out of Baylor, and Shaka Toney out of Penn State. I would love Toney in Miami, to be honest, with that 3-4. Just keep him as like that rotational pass rusher for when they have those. I think that works out really, really well for them. And then 2 guys from App State, Shamar Jean Charles and Sean Jolly. I'm actually not 100% sure if Sean Jolly declared or went back to school now that I think of it. I'm pretty sure he declared. But both out of Appalachian State, both really, really high quality defensive back prospects. I think will be there on day 3.
Bro, I love me some Jaden Daniels. So, Frank Darby and Brandon Ayuk, like, you know what I mean?
Well, and we'll definitely be talking about Jaden Daniels next time I'm here.
Oh, for sure. 100%. What about my boy Sam
Howell?
Yes, sir.
We'll talk about him too. Well, I mean, we'll see. I'm excited because I think next year's quarterback class is either going to be amazing or horrible. One of the two.
Yeah.
Either none of these guys are going to take the next step and the class is going to be really bad, or like I think we're going to see like 5 people who are like in the debate.
Slovis, Rattler.
That's what I'm hoping for. I mean, best case scenario is all of them take their steps, right? All of them are obviously going to have flaws and all of them are all going to have their strengths, but that's my favorite, right? Like I hate classes where it's like, all right, that's the best guy at this position. That's the best guy. My favorite is where it's like, who's your number 1 quarterback? Oh, it's Sam Howell. Who's yours? Oh, I like Jaden Daniels. Oh, Spencer Rattler. Like that's my favorite. Where there's this like, and you get it with like QB2 to QB4 this year, but I don't think it's going to be on low this next year.
Yeah. You know who I'm more like? I see Rattler, Slovis, Howell, and Daniels. Daniels needs to put some more weight on the frame. Ritter too. But do you think Bo Nix is going to take the next step? Then you know what's crazy? Not this season, but the season before. Man, I had so much hopes for that kid.
I still can't believe he got SEC Freshman of the Year. That devastated because Derek Stingley was so good.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was like Bo Nix. I don't dislike Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a bad taste in my mouth because he won Freshman of the Year.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. All right, brother. Hey, the floor is yours. Plug anything you got right now. I'm gonna put your Twitter up on the screen right now, brother. So plug everything you got coming.
Please go follow me on Twitter. We talk the draft. I talk Washington. I talk music, football, basketball, baseball. Honestly, we just have a good time out there. Say something dumb, I will get smart back, but that's just who I am. It's always all love. I've also recently started a YouTube channel. I'm working on getting the edit game up before I release another video. But go follow that. It's the same thing. MV Scouting, would appreciate it a ton. And go check me out at PFN, Pro Football Network. If you're going to do a mock draft, use their mock draft simulator. I do a ton of work. Me and a bunch of guys do a ton of work trying to keep that as accurate as possible to what the NFL is going to do. So if you want the most accurate mock drafting experience, I do highly, highly recommend that you go out to Pro Football Network and use their mock draft simulator. That's all I got to plug for myself. All I want to say, thank you guys so much for always, for the support reason. Thank you for having me on. I love all of you. I hope you guys have a good day. Make sure you check on yourself and your loved ones. The world can be rough sometimes. I'm just glad we can all, hop on here. A couple hundred of us talk ball and have a good time. So I appreciate every single one of you guys who's here.
Yeah, man, you're a phenomenal follow, and overall, you're just a phenomenal person. And honestly, bro, you and Dante Collinelli are 2 of the sets of eyes I trust the most out there, bro. So
love Dante. He's out here in Philly too.
Yeah,
he's
man.
out here near me because he goes to Temple.
I just want to say, man, I appreciate the work you do because you do fantastic
Thank
stuff,
you so
bro.
much.
Thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate you for taking on some time for me, brother. Of course, brother. Have a good night, brother. We'll talk soon.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. All right, guys. So that was, go follow Matt. He does such great work, man. You can go follow him. Again, here is his Twitter at MV Scouting. And like he said, you can put that in to the YouTube search bar and you can go find his YouTube channel. Go give that a follow. Go show support because he is family to the show. Man, I love having him on during draft season. I think he has some of the best takes out there, man. And what I do, I bring on people who are educated and, some of them are obviously more educated than I am and do a better job than I do. And I think I do a pretty good job. So that speaks to what I think of the job they do. I think they do great jobs. And Matt definitely falls under that, man. Absolutely love that guy. He's such a phenomenal dude. And I think he just does phenomenal work. So make sure you check him out. Make sure you support him. And guys, there's still 236 of you. Smash that like button. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. If you'd like to donate to the channel, of course, paypal.me/Finside. If you'd like to become a Patreon, there's a $2 level, a $5 level, a $10, a $15, and a 20. As usual, I've started dropping stuff on the Patreon exclusive. I'm going to be getting into videos. My next big board is going to drop on there earlier than it's going to come out to you guys. So, I just wanted to shout out, like I do, all 23 of the Patrons, because you guys really help support the movement. Of course, Infinite Trauma, Rhino Sith, Fake Spike 94, KA All Day, Ramon Casillas, Slim Pickens, Big Time, Red Dino, Marino's Goat, Conflict, Keith Davis, your boy Trev, Josh, Tranquilize, Jazz at 803, Martin, Joe B, Zo Vegas, the homie Cap, the Arkham Elf, the homie Irving, the homie Drew Boo, of course, the homie, the show. Appreciate all you guys for constantly supporting me, holding down the channel, man. I love each and every one of you. You already know what time it is. And of course, patchvibes.com. You can use code FINSIDE for 20% off your purchase right now. They got that new Sports Illustrated cover with Marino on t-shirts. Go check it out. Of course, you can grab official Finside, the NFL merch, teespring.com/stores/Finside, the NFL. And guys, I am going to be back here on Friday night, and we're going to go from there. It looks like my next big board is probably going to come out next week. I'm leaning, I haven't locked in yet, but I will lock in by the end of the week. I had the big board set, so now I just got to get locked in. I think my next one is going to be linebacker, middle linebacker specifically. So I think that's where we're going to go next in terms of big boards. I want to leave running back off just until I see how free agency plays out. I did wide receiver because I feel like even if we sign a guy, we're going to double up. Again, I want to leave the offensive line out because if we sign a guy like Corey Linsley, then I can do strictly an offensive tackle board. If we don't sign a center and we sign a tackle, then I can do a center board. If we don't sign either, I'm probably going to combine centers and tackles into one board, but I'm going to figure out it might be a 15-man board instead of 10. It might even be 20, so I have all a 10 and 10 and divide it up, but then it would still end up the top 5 guys, have film attached to them, whereas the other guys, I would just give you the scouting reports like I did similarly on the other draft board. And then nose, that would probably be a safe bet, but I want to save that one because honestly, that's the least exciting one for me. And I think EM wants to probably be involved with that board with how we did it last year. So yeah, I'm going to have that. So that's going to be the boards. As always, I always try to hit the top 5 needs. Even though to you guys, I've identified 6, right? So I want to see how free agency plays out a little bit before I start dropping everything. So the next one is probably going to be a linebacker because I don't see us investing really, really high money in like a Levante David or a really expensive linebacker. We might get a plug and play guy like Denzel Perryman, like I suggested. Someone like that, you know what I mean? 5-6 million range. So I think we'd still be in play for a linebacker if we did that. So that's basically laying out for you guys how to expect. So probably linebacker will be coming next. And then, because we're about to get into March anyways, right? So if I get that out next week, that'll be at the top of March. I might hit y'all with the nose tackle, defensive tackle before free agency. And then I just leave, either the center, tackle, or the blended as well as running back, because with the Aaron Jones noise, I want to leave that running back a little bit and see how that plays out. So that's my explanation, even though it was a little overdone for you guys, just so you understand my mindset and where I'm coming from. Another thing I wanted to tell you guys is keep in mind, I have locked in We're just going to work out the date. Quinn Meneres, after his pro day, will be coming on the show. I'm trying to lock in a couple other people, so we'll see how that works out. But Quinn Meneres has confirmed that after his pro day, he's going to be hopping on. We're going to be talking about his college career, his Senior Bowl, the draft process, his pro day, all that kind of stuff. So can't wait to pick his brain. And by the sounds of it, EM's probably going to join me for that. So me and him will be picking brains on that one. It's just when I get the date locked in for you guys, I'll let you know. But he's a great guy, man. I was texting Quinn a little bit the day we were talking. Absolute great guy, man. I was telling him how impressed I was about him and how much I love that guy's game. Man, I wouldn't be sad if I want Quinn Meneres on this team. I'm sorry. I really, really want Quinn Meneres on this team, and that's not because he's coming on. But, man, you look at that Senior Bowl. When you see that rep against Patrick Jones that I showed y'all on that Senior Bowl episode that I did after I came back after being a little sick there, man, how could you not want a kid like that? And the fact he was trying to fight through a fractured hand to play in the Senior Bowl, high character, man. Absolutely love that kid. Absolutely want him to be a part of this team. You know what I mean? So y'all already know yeah, I know. Hey, Rome knows what it is. Man, everyone wants to come to Miami, man. I love it. We're in such a unique position right now when you talk about capital, because we can clear up with restructures and cuts. We can clear up another 60. We got about 26 million right now. I think it's like 62 is the number. So if you think of it, if we cut we'd have to cut like McCain and stuff, and I don't agree with that. But we could still end up, even if we don't cut McCain and we restructure guys, we can end up with another 55 to 57 million added on the books. And all of a sudden, let's go the low end, 55 on the 26. That's 81 million. That's Corey Linsley. That's Aaron Jones, and you're not even hurting yourself. Just saying. So, and you look at what those two do in the run game, specifically in the RPO game, in the screen game, when they're asked to take those kind of snaps over in Green Bay. Just utter beauty. And guys, I got to show y'all before we get out of here. I just got to hit y'all with something, because your boy was ahead of the curve again, my friends. I got to say it. I went and I bragged about it a little bit. Guys, did I or did I not, a few months ago, identify, hey, because of the cap situation, why don't we hit up Seattle about my boy Tyler Lockett? Well, the report coming out is Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett could be a trade candidate this offseason to help with the cap situation. And like I said here, man, remember when I floated Lockett as a guy who should target in a trade on Inside the NFL a few months back? Oh, boy. Come on. If we can get a guy like Tyler Lockett and double up in the draft, whoo, baby. Come on. Come on. I want Tyler Lockett all day, every freaking day, baby. Oh, my God. The tease. I'm just saying, even when Reason spitballs, he's on point. You know what I'm saying? So, God, I got to get the old Barry Horowitz boys and gals. Got to give myself the pat on the back, baby. I hope. Oh, I pray. Y'all know how much I love that kid. Most underrated receiver in the NFL, hands down. Like, absolute stud coming out of Kansas State. Guy's been a stud at the NFL level. Everyone talks about how Diggs gave that boy Noah the work. Don't sleep on Lockett. He gave him the work pretty heavily too, baby. Tyler Lockett is special. They got to re-up DK, because they only had 4 years on him. He's already completed 2, right? So they're going to have to re-up him. They need offensive line help. Let me float this one out to y'all. Let me see this before I get out of here. All right? Let me hit y'all with this. They need offensive line help. Would y'all trade Austin Jackson for Tyler Lockett? Simmer on that one for a little bit, huh? Woo-wee. Good question, huh? You can draft Penei. You can come back in the second or third and get another tackle. Think about it, guys. Is that really that bad of a trade scenario for us? Just saying. I am just saying. Oh, yeah. Hey, Fred, they want to take Eric Flowers for Tyler Lockett? Let's go, baby. Where do I drop? Hey, bro, I will attach a second, this year and a freaking fourth next year if they can take Tyler Lockett's $10.5 million and that jabroni, buddy. I'll pay for the Uber, and if he can't get an Uber, buddy, I'll drive him to the airport myself after I'm finished packing his bag, bro. Oh my God, don't tease me with flowers, because I gotta say this. One thing we learned last year: some flowers, they need to be plucked. All right. Just saying. So, yeah, I mean, y'all already know I hated that signing when it came in, like the money was crazy for that guy. Like, we just look like jabronis. So, I mean, it is what it is, baby. So, guys, again, I will be back Friday night. Tomorrow, me, Richmond, and Ballgame will be recording episode 21 of The Finish Line. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be hitting before I'm live on Friday. So if you want some content, there's going to be a couple things in terms of topics you guys have already heard us talk about, but you haven't heard Richmond talk about. Obviously, Devontae Smith, Mac Jones things will be talked about. Obviously, we'll do a little bit more X talk, and then there's going to be a couple other topics. So be out on the lookout for The Finish Line. That'll be dropping either Thursday night or Friday morning. So be on the lookout for that, guys. But y'all already know what time it is. I'm back on Thursday. I can't wait. It's probably going to be more of an open forum, open discussion for all of y'all, because I feel like, we haven't done that in a little bit. So, and then next week, Dolph Freaky will be returning on Wednesday night to the channel. So we'll have her on. Can't wait. It's always good to have Allie on. She's the homie. I call her the queen of Finside, the NFL, baby. She knows what time it is. Absolutely love that girl. She's such a great person. Her family's fantastic. So I absolutely can't wait to have her on, talk about her experiences this year in a COVID season, some of her stories, some of her thoughts. And I didn't even get Matt Valdovinos' evaluation of Tua Tagovailoa. That's my bad. So I will be back on Friday night, guys. Y'all already know what time it is. Still 200 of you in the room. I love each and every one. You smash that like button. Pancake that like button like Penei Sewell pancakes when he gets to the second level, baby. Y'all already know what time it is. It's Fins Up all day, every day. I'll see all of y'all on Friday night, baby. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Be safe. Stay healthy. Take care of your loved ones. Love y'all. Bye.